I want to introduce you today, if you don't already know her, many of you already do, to someone who does that all the time. When I thought of who could I bring up to talk about collaborating in every aspect of her life for the common good, I think of Natasha Gannon. Would you come up and talk today?
Hey everyone, good morning. It's weird to be actually talking into this mic rather than like turning it on. So I first heard about Kingstowne Kingstowne Communion back in 2016. I like to joke that I'm probably the reason that the church continues to send out postcards in the mail, because I had my husband and I had just purchased our first home and just moved into the Kingstowne neighborhood, and we received postcards in the mail from several different churches in the area. But there was something about Kingstowne's that just stood out to me. I noticed that they right there on the card they advertised, the ability to give back to the community. So different means of giving back. Some of those were, for example, Sunday suppers for the homeless, and pub theology, which I thought was a really cool way of the community getting together and delving a little bit more deeply into our beliefs. But I'm thinking back to that time frame and all the different changes that were going on. It was, we just moved into a new home. We were still reeling from the 2016 election and all of the divisiveness and vitriol that came with that. My husband was just embarking on an 8-month-long overseas detail, so I was feeling honestly a little bit lonely, and I knew that I wanted to do something where I could be a part of something greater and giving back to the community in a meaningful way. And quite honestly, I was looking for some healing. So I came to Kingstowne Communion, and I remember, still to this day, how welcomed I felt just right away, and how I knew I wanted to come back again. I love that there were so many different ways to give back to the community. I loved the idea of Sunday suppers, so I jumped into that right away. And there were times where it felt like, I don't know how we're pulling this off, quite honestly. There were times where I thought, I don't know if we're going to be able to make this work, and we always did. Everyone came together and made it happen when it mattered the most. I see that today with our involvement with Rising Hope and Provision Kitchen. All the many different ways that we stay involved in the community and we give back. So being involved with Kingstowne and all of the many different ways that we give back to the community has inspired me to continue giving back myself in my own life, in addition to what I do with Kingstowne. So I kind of describe it as sort of like a snowball effect. When you start giving back and you start getting involved in the community, you want to do it more and more and more. So I started getting more involved in a dog rescue that I had already adopted my dog from. I started fostering dogs. I started working on the team that screens applicants to eventually adopt dogs. I joke that it was easier to get my security clearance than it was to get my dog. So it is very, very difficult. I might seem very nice, but I'm a little bit rougher of an interviewer. So I started getting involved in 2020, as a lot of people did, in baking. I was always sort of interested in baking. I loved Great British Bake Off. And then with with COVID, I had a little bit more time and a little bit more inspiration to do it. I started sort of a side hustle, I guess you would call it, where I've been selling my baked goods and donating the proceeds to various charities. And then also in 2020, I was inspired to get more involved in the diversity inclusion efforts where I work. So that's been a huge blessing as well. And then, just kind of why I choose to give to Kingstowne Communion, every couple of weeks. mainly, of course, I love the church. I love Michelle's messages, but I also love what we stand for, and I love that we give back, and we're so inclusive. I know that when I'm giving to Kingstowne Communion, I'm giving to the entire community as a whole. You can look around and see that this is a humble church. We're not, not to trash talk other churches, but we're not spending tons and tons of money on luxury items. Every Sunday morning, the trailers unloaded, we're all coming together to make this work and to make this happen. And, it's clear that so much of our budget and so much of what we do is given back to the community and for the greater good. So I just love that about Kingstowne. I love that that's been a priority for Kingstowne as long as I've known it. So.
Thank you. Yeah. She talks about it in a super humble way, but if you, she's so unassuming. If you have ever seen anything on her social media about Tasha's Nashas, which is her, shout out to Tasha's Nashas. She makes incredible cakes for kids who wouldn't have birthday cakes, and I mean she just gives everything away because she knows she doesn't need that income. But she likes to do this thing. And so that's the question. What is the thing that you like to do? What has your training prepared you for? And how can you help to give that to the world for the accomplishment of God's mission?